Hail Internet, it's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. We are here today talking about Strange New Worlds. I should say Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
You should say that.
I should say that. Season 2, Episode 1, The Broken Circle. We open with a previously on, of course, and then we see Pike having a Zoom chat with the imprisoned Number 1. She was arrested at the end of last season for hiding that she's the product of genetic engineering. Pike is determined to get the charges dropped, and so he goes in search of a woman, the only person who can argue, I suppose, on Number 1's behalf. We're not sure of all this. That's going to be an episode to come.
Yeah.
And he effectively leaves the episode, leaving Spock in charge of the Enterprise. We end with Spock having successfully thwarted an attempt to reignite the war with the Klingons, and we learn that the Gorn are about to attack Federation space. So, Paul.
Yes.
What'd you think of Episode 1?
Well, I was so glad to see the crew again. So that buoyed my enthusiasm. It made me enjoy that first viewing there. But hearing many people's quibbles with the episode did bring me down to earth a little bit.
Okay, what are some of them, like, maybe one or two of the major quibbles you heard?
It's funny, actually, because when there was the extended fight that Chapel and Ubenga were engaged in.
They took the super serum, essentially, which I think is new, right? Have you seen that before?
I never remember
She mentioned something like, "You sure you want to do this again?"
Yes.
Like to the doctor or something. I'm like, oh, so they have familiarity with it, but I don't think we do.
Yeah, I think that's true. When they were fighting, I kind of skipped ahead. I mean, it's like fights are generally like, it's like, okay, someone will win or someone will lose. So let's see what happens. Let's see who wins or loses.
I love that. I love that about you, Paul. I love the fact that we typically on Dork Lords do sci-fi, and they're usually like sci-fi adventure or superhero adventure action movies, and you tend to skip the action, which is great. I love it. I don't, but I appreciate that you do, sir. Well, the one thing that occurred to me in these scenes was a couple of things. One, a phaser would just make that whole super serum obsolete.
But why would the Klingons let the doctors in with phasers? Oh, I need this for my patients.
Well, in other words, like there's a hallway of Klingons, and they beat the living hell out of them, and then it seems like the phasers start to get used after the drugs wear off.
I see. You're saying that was your advice for the Klingons.
Correct. Okay. That was my advice to the Klingons.
But they are Klingons.
That's right. They're like, we don't need guns.
Exactly. It's like, this isn't very sporting, is it? Where's my bot
The other thing I thought about is, like, for instance, we see Chapel, like, one punch a Klingon.
Yes.
It's like she goes through, and I'm like, okay, so this super serum is obviously limiting your pain response.
It's
but
super duper.
Surely when it wears off, you're like, and I've broken every bone in my hands. I'm like, I think there's some physical damage that's going to come from it. Anyway, but that aside,
serum.
It's a good serum. It's a damn good serum.
It's like, wow, want any brass knuckles? No, I got my serum.
Yep. Okay, so you fast forwarded through it, but other people didn't, and they had a problem.
Yeah, but it was, it's like the thing that occurred to me is, it can be a problem in a show if you have people who, when there's any difficulties, can't protect themselves. It's like, okay, well, we can't put them in any fights, and, okay, well, is there anybody who needs to get better? Okay, let's put them in there. So, and certainly that was a problem for Crusher, and that was limited use. So, that's why it was good in Picard that I can do I can pilot a ship, and I can,
it's kind of
like intruders,
Like my criticism of back in the day of Aquaman on the Justice League. You're like, oh, he can only deal with water-based crimes. You're like, okay, well, he's pretty useless. Okay, but yes, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you gave them a way to be physical in the moment.
Yeah, and I did like that whole them expressing their difficulties in the war and all that.
Yeah, so they've obviously fought. They I don't know if they fought together, maybe even together, but they certainly fought in the Klingon War, and that's obviously that past is going to be important this season.
Yeah,
one would think.
Yeah, but among my also criticisms that were encouraged by other distraught people.
Okay.
In a way, the whole you're not going to do this again, are you, Spock? And of course, he is going to do it again, and it's like just slap on the wrist for him.
Right now, I will give the show a little credit because I was thinking the whole episode, like, come on, really? You're gonna like steal the ship and like get no repercussions? But at least I'll say this: they gave put the Band-Aid over that plot hole of saying, look, we're going to need every ship we can get with the oncoming Gorn War, so we'll just let it go. I'm like, okay, fine. You know what? You said something. You acknowledge that normally you wouldn't let this go, but you're letting it go. I'm like, okay, all right, fine.
Although, it's like, it's hard to remember the previous time. No, I guess, like, people have said, as an example, what Spock did, when he, stole Pike away.
Right, stole Pike away.
So,
right.
and I don't know what they got out of that, the Federation at all. The reason why it's like, oh, they're okay with it. But here, the Federation got not another war.
That's true. They got a lot. You're right. You don't really want to encourage your crew to steal ships at a moment's notice, but yes, the outcome was desirable. So you're like, all right, fine. And I, at the beginning of the episode, I missed having Pike on the show. I mean, I felt his absence. But as you said, it was good to have a crew kind of. I mean, this episode was basically Spock, Chapel, and then and the Doctor would be your 1B, but it was mainly Spock and Chapel, their relationship. But we get to see the crew doing, it's that Star Trek at its best. It's the crew acting in unison and harmony to solve an objective. And it was one of the criticisms I had about Discovery was that we didn't even get to meet the bridge crew for a couple of seasons. So the fact that they had a show where they're like, you know what, we're going to get rid of our captain for an episode. Because it's obviously not going to be all. I'll eat my words if we're at the season finale and Captain Pike finally returns. Like, oh my god! But I'm assuming it's like a one episode. And look, for this one, we're going to focus on Spock and Chapel. Got it. Which great. I thought, I enjoyed all that.
Yeah, some people expressed, frustration or confusion. Like, oh, you're coming back in the first episode of the season. You barely have Pike in it. But, I'm fine with that.
When would you do it? When is it a good time to do it?
Well, yeah. One thing I heard the makers of the show say, and I think it's a good point, is, trial shows aren't the biggest draws.
Right. And we think that we're coming to a trial, it appears.
Sure, yeah. So, you might be hesitant to make that the first one out of the box.
Agreed.
So,
and I do feel like you mentioned something about how there was, one of the criticisms you were talking about involved wrapping it up all, nice and neat. I would say not necessarily that wasn't a problem, but I felt like it was maybe a bit too much plot. I think it was a bit too plot heavy for a single episode. I felt like it was almost like 2 hours of plot in 1 hour. Like, we're doing it here. Then we're going to steal the ship. Then we're going to disguise ourselves. Then we're going to get captured. Then we got to send a distress signal. Then we got to, now there's another ship. Now we got to thwart that. I mean, it was a lot of stuff. Now, to their credit, they held it together.
It was a lot for one episode. Yeah, and it almost why it made it seem like it was too easy. But one thing I thought was weird, and I guess maybe I don't understand space enough. But, thankfully they had that meteor, area there that they could hide in, as they were shooting all around,
that was a plot device. I'm like, because they say like, oh, when we're in this meteor shower, to the Klingons, we'll just look like space debris.
Yeah.
Okay, but two ships shooting at each other is like space debris?
It's like, wow.
I don't know.
Wow, it's a good thing those pop rocks in that asteroid field, are so far away.
Klingon sensors are terrible. That's right. So, but it was cool that we did get, I think there was also in this episode a deliberate attempt to continue threads from season 1. Sure. So, for instance, number 1 is now in prison. Yes. We see that Uhura is now a member of the crew. Yes. We see that Laan, Noonien Singh, yes. Has returned the child that she said she was going to return to her parents, only to have the bad times happen. But yeah, she did. She accomplished her objective. Yes. We see that Spock is having trouble because when he basically unlocked his emotions in season 1, he's having a hard time regaining control. Yeah. And so that's all good stuff. Where it's like we see. They're not forgetting the events of season 1. They're letting it inform what's happening with the crew now. And so seeing Spock coping with his humanity, and trying to regain control and having these feelings, requited feelings for Chapel, I think that was all really good stuff. I enjoyed seeing that relationship play out.
It's interesting. I mean, presumably where they're going with Spock is that he's going to get control of his emotions again. They're sort of setting you up for how he is in the original series. But I and Nurse Chapel is still supposed to stay on board, so I don't know what they're going to do. Well,
keep this
in mind. I guess she's
so,
supposed to get her fiance or whatever.
Right, so, there's the fiance angle. So I feel like they're both at this point somewhat denying their feelings a little bit, right? Because she's even saying like, "I'm leaving the ship for a few months. I'm going to go to actually to Vulcan."
I'm like, I need to get away from Spock, and let me go to Vulcan.
Gonna be Vulcan. I'll hang out with his dad. And we know that ultimately, I suppose that they don't end up together. Right. And as you say, ultimately Spock does find a way to regain his composure. And kind of leans more into the Vulcan side of himself. So I feel like that's going to be as a result of a relationship gone sour. However that works, I don't know. Because, as you say, she's going to become engaged to mad scientist Roger Corby guy.
Yes.
Anyway, we see that there is trouble ahead. But at the moment, they're still kind of in we have feelings for each other. How do we rectify that stage? So I'm good with that, even knowing that somewhere out there is probably a landmine in their relationship. So we see Spock gets a lute, which we see him playing in the original series.
That's true, yes.
I like that the Doctor has like musical instruments in his medical supply closet. Let's see, I got some pain meds, glucose, trombone, 3 saxophones, cough syrup. Correct.
It's like anesthetic. Like, no, wait, I think I have a flugelhorn here.
Yeah, exactly. I got a lute somewhere, and it's in tune. Great, here, take it. So I noticed that the next episode is entitled Ad Astra per Aspera, which, having lived in Kansas for quite a while, I recognized immediately as the state motto.
Okay.
To the stars through struggle. And so I'm wondering if maybe this is where the trial is going to be held in Kansas. I actually I went down a rabbit hole, and I think it ended up being the wrong rabbit hole. But I was like, okay, are there any characters from Star Trek lore that were born in Kansas? Like for instance, Kirk was born in Iowa.
Yes.
It's close, but it's not close enough. So there is one. There's a character that's born in Topeka, Kansas, who would actually be very powerful, is a woman, and could theoretically change events, but she's not alive at this point. It's the character who's the female Q from the Next Generation series, Amanda Rogers. But she wasn't born at now. I guess when she becomes a Q, she could go wherever the hell she wants.
Yeah, I'd
say. But anyway, so there you go. If it turns out to be Amanda Rogers, somehow number one and Pike know about her and she's hanging out on the planet, I get all the credit for figuring that out. But that's probably not it. But yeah. They do have, so Carol Kane is our new engineer.
Yes.
Obviously, the engineer died at the end of last season.
Yes.
So it's a fun character. I mean, it's Carol Kane, right? I mean, it's just like, I have a weird accent, and
apparently a new race that has never existed before.
Yeah.
And other than how it induces boredom,
they can live for. That's my one.
Their eternity. I'm not sure what the appeal of having these long-lived characters.
Yeah, they were in hiding. They were basically doing secret invasion.
Apparently that's just an excuse to have her be in that episode where Kirk goes back in time.
I did, Lon's drinking game seemed like an homage to Marion.
Yeah, Raiders.
Ravenwood.
Yeah,
little Indiana Jones.
Sure.
I think they've gone to the well maybe one too many times now with the captain's call gag. I would like the ship to go now.
Yeah.
Which that's a fine call for Spock. I'm fine with it. But just this, like they've done that.
No,
with,
I thought it was too cute. It's like it's a new Trek thing. It's like and it's not that new. I mean, yes, Picard did it, but Cisco didn't do it, and Janeway didn't do it.
But they've made it a joke in Discovery. They've referenced it.
They went crazy with it, right? Because I'm sure I think Georgiou had something, and then what's his name?
What's his name? I'm forgetting his name, but it was a big deal when he went, what's his
Universe
catchphrase?
Guy did it, and then Saru did it, and so. They're like, oh, okay, everybody's got to have their own thing. And it's like, no, they don't. Yeah.
Somebody on the writing team is like really obsessed with it.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this would be great.
Yeah.
What would he say? Okay, it's fine.
Yeah. That's
how about just like...
And I would have preferred it if it was more like... Well, I mean, there's ways to fix it, and they just didn't. I mean, if it was sort of like Ortega's like thing where she was like,
vamonos, whatever.
If she was trying to instigate it, not that everybody does it, but she just felt like because Pike did it and she thinks that's cool,
right?
Not that everybody does it, because everybody on your shows does it, but not every single Star Trek captain does it.
Right. How about this? How about do your job instead of caring what my catchphrase is?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Because those other ones were lame. Zoom.
They were lame. Hit
Zoom.
it. Come on.
Zoom.
Zoom.
Hit it's fine.
Hit it's fine. I'm kidding. Hit it's fine. But I'm just saying, like, in other words, he's like, what are you questioning me on my catchphrase?
Yeah.
Just, How about engage? That's anyway.
How about security? Put this person in the brig.
That's right. How about you're demoted?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, but anyway, we've thrown out a few little things that perhaps were minor criticisms of the episode, but I thought generally speaking the episode was strong.
Yeah, I was happy to see all the characters again.
Show,
and I think actually it's important that we see the other characters.
I agree. As I kind of talked my way into it a little bit. At the beginning, I was like, "Oh, come on!" But as I got about halfway through the episode, I'm like, "This actually makes sense.
Shoot.
Let's get grounded again with the crew." Yeah. And then we'll have plenty of time to have our, have our star.
Jenna Mitchell was probably all excited, like, woo!
That's right.
The captain's not around, so I can say a little more.
I get to pretend there's a coolant leak.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, a good reintroduction to the show, and I'm excited to see where it goes next.
Yeah.
What do you think? How long do you think number one will be in prison? Do you think it's one of those things where, like, she's out next episode?
Yeah.
Or is she kind of
I'd be surprised if she wasn't out next episode, even though that would feel like it was quick.
Yeah, it does feel a little
and
quick.
I don't, and it's funny though because I can't. I mean, I think they are going to wrap it up fairly quickly. It's just that I feel like, why are they? What excuse will they give to letting her get off the hook? I don't. And the only thing I can think of is somehow she's able to say, "Hey, I can strip myself of any genetic improvements." They're like, "Oh, okay."
Maybe, or well, yeah, no, you're right. That's probably. I was gonna say, or they like change their mind about, but they don't change their mind about genetics.
Yeah, it's still a problem when Bashir in Deep Space Nine is like, hey. Which I really like, actually, so.
Yeah, so you're right. I'm not sure. They're gonna have to mind wipe the jury, or what, I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's actually, I might even make this case if I was trying to defend number one.
Yeah.
It's like, interesting how the Federation's just fine with giving all these people chemical boosts that they could just take to augment themselves to beat the living hell out of their foes. But no, if you have them permanent, now that's a problem. I don't know, maybe you go that direction. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see how it works.
Yes,
but
we will.
But yeah, looking forward to it. We'll be back talking about episode 2.
Yes.
And we'll be back talking about Secret Invasion and, of course, the Lazarus Project.
Yes.
So thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate it, good
problem.
sir. And we'll talk to everybody next time.
Bye.
Bye.